Lightning makes no sound until it strikes. Every being must decide whether they will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. We are not makers of history. We are made by history. Science investigates. Religion interprets. Science gives men knowledge, which is power. Religion gives men wisdom, which is control. Science deals mainly with facts. Religion, mainly with values. The two are not rivals. We must use time creatively, in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do right. There is nothing more tragic than to find an individual bogged down in the length of life, devoid of breath. Property is intended to serve life, and no matter how much we surround it with rights and respect, it has no personal being. It is part of the earth man walks on. It is not man. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all of humanity. Rarely do we find those willing to engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think. Every being lives in two realms, the internal and external. The internal is that realm of spirit, ends expressed in art, literature, morals, and religion. The external is that complex of devices, techniques, mechanisms, and instrumentalities by means of which we live. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. There comes a time when people get tired of being pushed out of the glittering sunlight of life's July and left standing amid the piercing chill of an alpine November. The quality, not the longevity, of one's life is what is important. A lie cannot live. The past is prophetic in that it asserts loudly that wars are poor chisels for carving out peaceful tomorrows. The limitations of riots, moral questions aside, is that they cannot win, and their participants know it. Hence, rioting is not revolutionary, but reactionary, because it invites defeat. It involves an emotional catharsis, but it must be followed by a sense of futility. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. That is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. There can be no deep disappointment where there is no deep love. We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Nonviolence is absolute commitment to the way of love. Love is not emotional bash. It is not the empty sentimentalism. It is the active outpouring of one's whole being into the being of another. Humans must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Only in the darkness can you see the stars. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe nor political nor popular, but he must take it because his conscience tells him it is right. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. No one really knows why they are alive until they know what they'd die for. A being who won't die for something is not fit to live. We must build dikes of courage to hold back the flood of fear. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others. Never succumb to the temptation of bitterness. No person has the right to reign on your dreams. You will change your mind, you will change your looks, you will change your smile, laugh, and ways. But no matter what you change, you will always be you. Whatever your life's work is, do it well. A man should do his job so well that the living, the dead, and the unborn could do it no better. Everything that we see is a shadow cast by that which we do not see. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but the positive affirmation of peace. The art of acceptance is the art of making someone who has just done you a small favor wish that he might have done you a greater one. A riot is the language of the unheard. A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. The ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. Nothing in all the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. Never, never be afraid to do what is right, especially if the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? 10,000 fools proclaim themselves into obscurity. When you are right, you cannot be too radical. When you are wrong, you cannot be too conservative. That old law about an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. We are prone to judge success by the index of our salaries or the size of our automobiles, rather than by the quality of our service and relationship to mankind. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. I came to the conclusion that there is an existential moment in your life when you must decide to speak for yourself. Nobody else can speak for you. Almost always, the creative, dedicated minority has made the world better. The soft-minded man always fears change. He feels security in the status quo, and he has an almost morbid fear of the new. For him, the greatest pain is the pain of a new idea. We cannot walk alone. He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting it is really cooperating with it. I'm not interested in power for power's sake. I'm interested in power that is moral, that is right, that is good. Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war, that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. We will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I submit that an individual who breaks a law that conscience tells him is unjust, and who willingly accepts the penalty of imprisonment in order to arouse the conscience of the community over its injustice, is in reality expressing the highest respect for law. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Now there is a final reason I think we should love our enemies. It is this, that love has within it a redemptive power, and there is a power there that eventually transforms individuals. Just keep being friendly to that person. Just keep loving them, and they can't stand it too long. Oh, they react in many ways in the beginning. They react with guilt feelings, and sometimes they'll hate you a little more at the transition period, but just keep loving them. And by the power of your love, they will break down under the load. That's love, you see. It's redemptive, and that is why we must love. There's something about love that builds up and is creative. There is something about hate that tears down and is destructive. So love your enemies. The first question most people ask is, if I stop to help this person, what will happen to me? But a better way to ask the question, if I do not stop to help this person, what will happen to them?